those leads come from customers, not quotas, okay? So let's be realistic. Let's talk to our customers and learn what they need, what they want, how to meet them where they are, how to help them move through this decision-making process.
Welcome to Relationship Capitalists, where super connectors share how they build trust, create value, and thrive when AI changes everything. In a world where expertise is being commoditized, your ability to build and sustain high-value human connections is what sets you apart. I'm your host, Jason Masciarelli. Let's dive in. Welcome to Relationship Capitalists. I'm your host, Jason Masciarelli. Today, I'm joined by Alice Heiman, founder and Chief Sales Energizer at Alice Heiman LLC, and host of Sales Talk for CEOs. Alice has spent decades helping CEOs, founders, and sales leaders elevate sales, grow revenue, and increase company valuation in complex B2B markets. So today, we explore why sales is still the CEO's responsibility, where AI can support growth, and why trust, relationships, and leadership remain the asset that actually closes a deal. Let's dive in. Alice, great to have you on. Thanks for joining.
Oh, my pleasure.
Before we jump in, I'd love to have you share a bit about the mission that you're on and who you help.
Yeah, my mission is to drive revenue profitably, and I help entrepreneurs do that. They're typically companies that are in technology or some sort of innovative field, and I work with the CEOs and most of them are, under 50 million in revenues, probably somewhere between that 10 and $50 million mark. And they all have a business-to-business complex sale, and they want to grow their companies, of course, and eventually probably exit.
Yeah, awesome. And I think you're a big believer in the CEO being very involved in owning sales to an extent. And I'm a big believer in that because whenever I'm, on the buyer side, I always prefer companies where I can have a conversation with the CEO and have a personal connection and get that trust. And so is that, kind of the premise that you're working with CEOs and leadership teams on?
Well, I do believe that there are some cases where the size or the reputation of a customer or prospect makes it that the CEO should absolutely be involved with either a customer or a prospect at that level, right? And I do agree with you that many people do want to know who the CEO is. Even if they don't get to meet them, they want to understand the story, right? What's behind this? And so I like that idea a lot. But also in companies where there is no CRO, which is many, many companies, the CEO is the CRO, and they need to get a hold of that because I know they are there thinking they're going to run their company, and of course they are, but that CRO role is critical or sales just don't go the way you want them to, and who are you going to blame when sales are not where they should be? Only yourself. So CEOs need to learn how to play that CRO role, and most of them will play it always, but some of them will hire a CRO, and since they've been playing that role, they'll be able to hire a good CRO, which is a chief revenue officer, and they'll know what to expect and what that person should be able to do. And I see a lot of cases where that doesn't happen, and they hire CROs who are not qualified, and then they think they can let go of sales, and things don't go well. So the CEO will always have a role in sales. That role will change as the company matures, but there will always be, that last stop, which is the CEO. When sales are not going well, there's only one person to look at, and that is the CEO.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as things evolve with adoption of AI and automation, and folks are kind of looking to technology to kind of take over elements of marketing and sales, in terms of complex B2B sales and deals, what areas do you think that human connection and relationships are the most critical?
So I think it's going to be different for every company to some degree, and some things will be the same. But what I believe is that every company should look at all the touch points from hello to I'm your loyal customer. And once they've examined those touch points and the workflows around those touch points, they'll be better able to say which should be done by AI and which should be done by humans, or which should be assisted by AI but done by humans, right? So, in the very beginning, when it's hello, we're just trying to get our market to recognize that we exist and that we can solve some problems, right? At that point, you could probably use a lot of AI, right? But I wouldn't only want to use AI. So, for example, a company CEO called me the other day and he's like, what do you think about these AIs that, can take your content and then they just write stuff and post it for you? And I said, yeah, that's a bad idea. I said, and let me give you an example. Just the other day, someone I know who tried that had to remove 3 posts from social media because they were so far off and they had people mentioning it to them. Now, that's a bad way to get known, right? I mean, some people say any publicity is good publicity. Maybe so, but people can tell when AI is just blasting stuff out on your behalf. Some of this content is just not correct. And so you are really possibly damaging your reputation by doing that. So I think that the humans need to direct the activity. Just like a leader directs the activity of the people who work for them, a leader has to direct the activity of the AI. So can it be used effectively? Absolutely. If someone has a strategy, which comes from the leadership, right? And then a plan, right? And then they can go execute that plan, then they can see which part can be done by the AI. And yes, some writing can be done, but certainly, like, once a body of content is built, the AI is good at make it a LinkedIn post, make it a blog, make it a newsletter, make it something else. Repurposing content, AI is great at. The original production of it, sometimes it's great at. So you kind of have to see. So I think that curating some content and having AI help you produce it in the right format for all of the different outlets is a great idea, as long as someone's looking over it. Now, if you're producing content that's going out to the world, then a human needs to interact with that. So let's just call it LinkedIn for the moment, because a lot of people use it. So let's say you post something on LinkedIn and then people comment. Well, a human needs to go comment, not just because the AI won't do a good job, but it won't, right? And people will know it's AI, but also because that could be a lead and you're missing that. If you're letting AI comment on your comments, so you post and now there's comments, those people potentially could buy from you or refer someone who could buy from you, and you are now missing that opportunity. And literally just yesterday, I showed a client this and they were like, oh, you're right. I can't believe no one went to comment or answer that comment and look this guy up and see that he's actually a lead. Just left there.
Right.
So I think that's a human needs to do that. The AI doesn't do that. Now, maybe someday it will, but right now it doesn't. So I think we have to be careful. And in the sales process, when, once people are interested and they've interacted with what your marketing team has put out there on social and on the website and wherever else, on Substack, wherever else it is, and they're ready to talk to a salesperson, well, that's a salesperson. That's not AI, right? Now, maybe you could use AI to help you schedule an appointment more quickly and easily. That'd be okay. We already have scheduling tools that help us do that. That's fine. And maybe we could use the AI to do some deep research into that prospect before we get on the phone with them, so we're more heavily prepared to have a great conversation and bring insights and show them that we really know them, right? As my friend Samantha McKenna always says, show them you know them. And so that is a great use for AI. AI can capture the notes. Now be careful. I mean, if you've ever looked at the notes that your AI takes, I don't know where they get some of this stuff from, but it wasn't even in the conversation. And it also doesn't know what to exclude. So if you have a minute of chatting about your kids and soccer and stuff, it doesn't know that that isn't just as important as, something else. Now, in a way it is, right? But it's not an action item and the AI gets very confused. So yes, you can use AI to take notes. I think that's wonderful, but be careful, right? Because it doesn't always take good notes or it doesn't capture the right things or the right actions. So I do think there are places, but I caution people against in the sales process using AI is automating workflows that didn't work with humans and thinking that somehow the AI can make that workflow work, right? So putting things in the CRM, great. Well, most CRMs are very convoluted, complicated, and have a bunch of dirty data in them. So if we now just automate all that with AI, what a mess, right? So I always say, look at every workflow and improve it first, and then see if AI can help you do that workflow. But don't just automate your current workflows with AI because that will be a mess. So it's important. We need to learn how to use AI well, but we need strategy and planning. We need to examine things, and then we can determine where's the best place to apply the AI.
And so if we kind of look back over your journey, because I know you'd started with Miller Heiman, excuse me.
It's so funny. No, let me tell you the audience and you a very funny story. So Herman Miller makes chairs
Right.
and
Yes.
furniture
Yes.
for offices. And back in the day, in the early 90s, we had the phone number of Herman Miller on our reception desk because so many people called Miller Heiman and asked for Herman Miller. And we'd be, oh, you mean the furniture company? Here's the phone number.
Right. Yes. Sorry. And I mean, I did know that, but I skipped it because I know because the brand, right?
Yeah, totally okay.
Yeah, that's funny. But I guess in terms of as you've gone through your journey, sales sometimes as a department, and you've really seen it as a leadership responsibility. And so, kind of what was your evolution to really focusing on sales really as something that is more top down and leadership driven?
Well, it's interesting because when I was with Miller Heiman, I only worked with Fortune 500 companies. And so, you name it, Hewlett Packard, AT&T, Fidelity Investments, big ones, right? And I would go in and train hundreds of salespeople, right? Because they have all these different teams and the leadership. And my dad also knew this. He insisted that the leaders be in the training. Otherwise, we wouldn't run it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the point, right? But then I even further than that realized, okay, now I've trained all these salespeople and the managers were there. And sometimes even senior leadership was there and they all loved it. They raved about it. Wonderful, fantastic. And a couple weeks later, I'd call on those frontline managers and ask them, so how are they using the process that they learned? Are they using the strategic analysis? We fondly called that the blue sheets.
Oh, yeah. I went through the program when I was in my first enterprise sales career. Yeah.
And then they'd say, oh, well, and they'd start giving me all these excuses. Occasionally one would say, oh, yeah, we used it and we won a big deal. But then I'd be like, so are you, using them the way I taught you to use them? And the answer was always no. And so I was like, okay, this is so interesting. So if the frontline leaders know it works, but they're still not expecting sellers to use the process, what's going to happen? Maybe they talk it through. They'd say, well, we use the language. We talk it through. I'm like, it's going to get diluted. And really, they say they're using Miller Heiman process, but they're not. They're just back to their regular routine, right? And so I thought, well, this has to be coming down from the top that we will operate this way. And the leaders of the sales lead, right, the frontline managers, the leaders, the VP level, AVPs and RVPs and everybody who are managing those frontline sales managers needed to have an expectation that we would use this process we learned. And if they didn't, then it wouldn't happen. And they wouldn't unless their senior leadership at the C level said, we have paid for this, we believe in this, we have trained you all, and now we expect you all to use it, and we want to see evidence of that.
Yeah, they have to weave it into the management coaching framework.
Right. It's got to be in the fabric, right? Yeah. It can't just be a layer. It has to be woven into the fabric of everyday life.
Yep.
And so without that, right? And so when we sold Miller Heiman and I went on my own, and I was working with companies, I sort of was more of a sales journalist, and I would sort of be in on the kind of management level, senior management level, but not with the CEO. And what I started to realize, by then also I was working with much smaller companies. It was a .com time, and all the senior executives from the big companies I worked with were at these little .coms, right? We call them startups now, but they were calling them .coms because it was the 90s and the beginning of the internet. I started to realize, oh my gosh, I can't turn this ship without the CEO.
Yeah.
I can train them and tell them and teach them and reformat it. But without the CEO inspecting and expecting, right, we're going nowhere because they don't have to do it, right? Even when they see evidence that it works better than what they used to do, they fall back into their old ways. It's just human nature, right? So I, just decided, I don't know, that was probably 15 or more years ago, I will only work with a company whose CEO I have access to, and I start there, right? So I start with the CEO and I talk about, what do you want that you don't have right now for this company? Like, where are we going? Why are we going there? What's going to happen when we get there? When I understand all of that, then it's like, okay, so you want your sales to go from here to here. Got it. Now, based on everything you told me, here's the strategy. Like, are you going to make acquisitions? Are you going to hire more salespeople? Are you going to go into a new market? Are you going to develop new products? Like, how are you going to get positioned to get where you want to get? Now, once we all understand that and your senior team and everybody agree, we can start a plan and deploy it, right? But if the CEO isn't 100% behind it and hasn't helped me formulate it with that, if it's not a joint collaboration, there's no sense in it because I can formulate that, but it wouldn't be right without them. And I could go teach it to their sales team and have them, but so the CEO really has to drive it. And especially in the size company I'm talking about, when they're under $100 million in revenues, they don't have a CRO, not having that many salespeople yet, their sales process, even though they're 10, 15 years in, they got there organically and they can't get to the next level because the process is in place. They don't have a clear line of sight to where they're going and what they're going to do when they get there. So it's me recognizing, oh my gosh, I could really help these companies if the CEO will be involved in sales.
Miller Heiman, I mean, that brings me back to early days of my sales career. And, I think it's cool how you've kind of lived through that. And then now you've built your own business around, focusing on working with executives. So in the last few years, with kind of this dominance of tech and everything coming up, what do you see as being critical for, kind of executive teams and salespeople around, how do they lean more into kind of the human aspect of sales and relationship management?
Well, what we are hoping, right, is that AI is going to take some of the mundane work away. It's going to help us use our data better. One thing it's not going to do, FYI, everybody, it's not going to clean it up. Like, you got to clean that data up so AI can use it, right? There's already been some huge faux pas with big companies who use dirty data to get some analytics out of AI and, big trouble happened. So, I think that if we get our systems working well and we have AI to help us, we will have information at our fingertips that we don't have right now that will be so helpful. Information about customers and the way they act, and information about our sales process and their buying process. And we'll have data about our funnel and the velocity of our funnel and the close ratios at our fingertips without having to export a whole bunch of data out of CRM and then mash it around. And then, we'll have all that. So it will take hours and hours of work off of us, right? And then all the research salespeople should be doing that probably aren't, because it takes so much time. Now the AI can do it, right? And putting things together and making it easier and helping. AI can listen to our conversations and start to find common issues. And there's just so many great things that AI can do that should free us up to be more human, right? And so what should we do with that time that we have to be more human? Well, I would hope every sales manager would be spending that time coaching salespeople on big deals and how to move them forward and how to get them closed and how to interact with people and how to bring insights and all the things that salespeople need help doing to get large deals closed. That's what I would hope. And I would hope the leaders of the leaders could have more time to spend developing their leaders into better leaders, because what could be better than that? Like, my gosh, if we had all top performing leaders in our companies, how fun would that be, right? Things would be going really, really well. So we have more time to develop ourselves, more time to develop our leaders, more time to develop our sellers into better sellers. That would be phenomenal. More time to focus on customers, their needs, on, digging in even deeper to how do we help our customers meet their goals. So once they're our customer, now what, right? So if the AI frees us up, the humans can learn together and figure out better and better ways, right, to support each other and help each other grow. Because when our customers grow, we grow. It's a good
Love
thing,
that.
right?
Yeah.
But we don't have enough time right now to be that focused on our customer and what they're trying to accomplish. We're just trying to get them to use our product properly, hopefully, and about as much as we can do right now. But to really be strategic with them and talk with them and understand what their future looks like and how we can be a part of that and help them. And wow, wouldn't that be amazing? So we would have more time, right? We would have better conversations because we wouldn't be in such a rush. We could really dig into things and talk with people and not be so focused on every step that we have to take to get, because the AI is going to do some of that stuff for us. And especially like making maps, mutual action plans, like the AI could listen to our conversations and map out all the next steps and send it to everybody, right? Of course, a human has to check it, but I'm just saying there's so many great things, but I think that it will allow us to have deeper conversations, better conversations. It will allow us to do more interesting and creative things inside our company and with our customers. And that's what my real hope is for that. We need that human element to do that.
Yeah. No, I love the vision that you've laid out, like in terms of really freeing people up to do the human side of things and let the automation, because the pendulum went too far the other way, right? I think in the last couple decades, people were too focused on data entry, process, administrative stuff. And like it was getting to be like 20, 30% of a salesperson's job, right? And so now, kind of what you've laid out is at all levels, from the CEO, the CRO, sales leadership, they can better coach and connect with their teams. They have more time to connect with customers and really deepen those relationships. And so I can envision that there's a lot of change management that needs to happen as well, from a management perspective, but also from the individual sellers. And so how are you seeing kind of where organizations are kind of stumbling and where, are you seeing that you can help them kind of navigate through that such that they can actually now shift people's habits away from the admin stuff and actually more human stuff?
It is big change management. It's so funny because I was talking to my friend Larry the other day just about this exact thing. He's like, well, why do you think this is, Alice? Why do they stick with a way that doesn't work when there is a way that does work? I'm like, change is hard. Change management is hard. Most of us don't know how to do it. So even leaders who want their team to shift their behavior do not know how to get a shift in behavior. So they might train them and then expect it, but then nobody's doing it. And then they don't know what to do about it. Well, do I fire them? Do I retrain them? Do I force them? Like, how can I force them? Like, they don't know how change management works, right? And so I think, I'm not an expert in change management either, but before I was in business, I was a special ed teacher. And so I do know a lot about human behavior because of that. And I know that it has to start with that person buying in, right? So we have a big idea about where we're moving to, but each of the humans that reports to us has to come along with us, right? And so it starts with mindset, and mindset starts with understanding. I can't change my mindset if I don't understand. Right? And then there's a lot of pieces because, like, let's just take a simple one, compensation. So you've asked me to do this, but you're paying me to do this. Whoops. How's that going to work? I don't understand because I need money. And so if we change management, it has to be global, right? We have to look at the whole picture and understand each piece before we ask someone to change. It's like, well, we're going to do this change. It's coming on, and we're going to start it here, and your comp plan will change with it, and all these other things are going to change. We're going to support you in this way. We're going to provide training. We're going to expect these different behaviors. We're going to inspect them. If you still can't do them, we're going to retrain you, and then we're going to, here's the plan, people, but we're moving towards this. Now, If you don't want to be on that train, you can get off now and we still love you. But here's where we're going. So now help each individual player understand. We can do that in groups and one-to-one in lots of different ways with videos and materials and, all things. But why are we doing this? Humans need to understand, right? Because I've always just made 100 calls a day. And then I sent 1,000 emails out of, one of my tools like Outreach or Apollo or something. And then I went and spammed people on LinkedIn and I got 1% return on that. And then some of that turned into business, right? Okay, that's the way I've just always operated. Now you're telling me, no, we're not doing that anymore. Now we're going to have events. You're going to attend. You're going to do these things ahead of time. You're going to do these things at the event. You're going to do these things after the event. Now we're going to call people and talk about this. I know you used to do it this way, but now we're not doing that anymore. Now we're going to do this, right? They need to. And why? Because that's what's better for our buyers, right? We have to meet our buyers where they are. So now we're going to do it this way, right? And we're going to assist you with these tools and this AI and teach you how to use it, because too many random acts of AI going on and people don't know how to use AI. They think they do, but they don't. And they use it for such very low level tasks instead of, globally thinking about how AI can impact things. So it's kind of hurting us more than it's helping us. That's why all these studies come out saying productivity hasn't changed, even with the use of AI. So it's kind of nonsense, right? But, as we have these people understanding why we're making this change, better for you, better for the customers, it's going to work like this. Here's why. Okay, I get it. Now, what do I have to do? I don't know what to do. I want to do, what you're saying. It sounds good, but what do I do, right? And everybody learns differently. So now I got to show these people how to move from this behavior to this behavior. And what does that take? For every human, that's something different. So you can give them some training in a group. You can give them some one-on-one videos, reading, all those different things. That's great. But then you have to see now, did they translate that into an action? And the behavior changed now that they have the knowledge. So they understand why. You just gave them a bunch of knowledge, but can they actually do a new behavior? So then we have to practice the new behavior, right? And then we have to do it enough times and get good results, which may not be in the very beginning. It takes time to see that, oh my gosh, this actually works and you're going to compensate me properly. Isn't that simple?
Yeah, because it sounds like roles are changing. Their comp plans need to evolve. And the habits that they've been in need to change dramatically as well, right? And where they focus their time. And so that's a lot that I don't find people are talking about. Like everybody's talking about all the things that AI can do, but not kind of what happens for the individual contributors and how their role and all those things need to change to support it.
And Jason, marketing needs to do their job and stop asking salespeople to do marketing because it isn't working.
Right.
Right.
And it's kind of almost slipped in that direction, right? Where AI has almost turned sellers into marketers.
And even before that, we're asking salespeople to do marketing work, right? Send emails. They're terrible at writing good emails and it's not working, right?
Yeah.
Marketing needs to cue it up so that salespeople can have more conversations with people who can buy, because then we can teach them how to have better conversations. Deeper conversations, bringing insights, understanding, things that salespeople need to learn these days, how to guide a buying team through a process that leads to a decision. That decision might not include me, but it's still my job to get them there to say yes or no. And how do I do that? There's 8 of them, there's 10 of them, there's 12 of them. As a seller, how do I wrangle 12 people and try to move them all in the same direction? How do I help them come to consensus? When was the last time you saw a salesperson sit in a class on how to build consensus with a buying team? Is that never?
Yeah, probably 25 years ago.
I mean, it's just not taught, right? It's not taught.
Yeah.
So how would a salesperson know how to do that?
Yeah,
So
and I think in today's world, like because so much is remote and you show up on these calls and there's like 10 or 12 people on a call, it's hard for a seller to build a connection with the key people. Like in the old days, you'd be able to build a one-to-one relationship.
Yeah, because you just go see them in person or you talk on the phone,
Yeah.
But we can still do it. We just think we can't. And also there's a whole generation of people who don't want to talk on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do not want
and
to
you have to be
talk
more
on the phone.
intentional to try to create those venues for those one-to-one discussions such
Right.
that you can drive consensus at a group level.
Exactly. Because consensus doesn't happen in the group, right? It happens by individual talking and then come back to the group and we've already got a consensus, right? So I think helping salespeople learn how to do that is critical, right? And then we have to change the pressure that we put on them also because it's a complex sale. But we're pressuring them to be transactional. Get these deals done by this date. That is not what our customers want. Close dates come from customers, not quotas. Okay? So let's be realistic. Let's talk to our customers and learn what they need, what they want, how to meet them where they are, how to help them move through this decision making process, how to have confidence in their decision making ability. How do we help them discern our product from all of the rest? Like all of these things we have to teach our sellers how to do. And that takes time and patience. And it doesn't happen on the quota end. And all of a sudden, having a CEO yell, call them and give them a discount and get them to close. What is it going to take? That does not help. It just makes people angry. Oh, now you're going to offer me a discount? I thought you said that was your best price. Not good. So all of these behaviors have to shift together. We all have to agree that we will meet our customers where they are and we will do what's best for our customers and we will sell them in a way that makes sense and gets them to make a good decision. And then we will onboard them and we will make sure they are successful using what we've sold them. And that is a flywheel you can just keep spinning because if they're happy, they tell other people and now you don't have to do cold outreach, right? Either they word of mouth without you prompting them or you prompt them to tell others, right? And then your cold outreach goes down to a minimum or it becomes non-existent because you've got referrals.
So in working with organizations now, where do you see the challenges for folks have around building relationships? What do you see as where people are being successful? How is it evolving in terms of, how sellers are not able to build connection or that they're better able to build connection because of some of the tools that are there?
Yeah, I think this is a tough one because it is a bit generational. I mean, my generation, which I'm the tail end of the baby boomers, we're a shake hands, look each other in the eye, get together kind of that's what we want to do, right? And we will pick up the phone and call each other, sometimes a quick text, but the text is usually like, hey, can I call you? Whereas I have a bunch of 30-something kids and they will text a mile long. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a conversation. This is not a text. I can't, it is a communication thing, right? So we do need to build strong relationships for sure. Before the sale and before we close and then after. Those relationships have to be strong enough to withstand a bump in the road. They have to be strong enough to withstand that person moving to a new company so that they are there at this new company and then they'll call you, right? They have to be strong enough to get them to want to tell other people about you. So that means you have to work at it just like any other relationship. But there's this youngest generation in the workforce right now, they are not good at this, right? So now we need to start thinking, what do we need to do to train them? Now, why does this become corporate America's problem? Well, because it is, right? And so you receive these workers into your realm and you have to take them from where they are to where you need them to be. And they have to learn how to be around other humans and have a conversation and ask good questions and listen and then be able to do something with that information. Because I've even seen people who can listen and they gather information, they even take notes, but then they have no idea what to do with the information once they get it. They don't put two and two together, right? So we have to, it's that basic business acumen. When I hear this, that tells me this. When I see this or read this, it tells me that. I can thread these things together and make something with it and have something to communicate about. Because when I ask, some under 30s make a call, they're like, what would I call them about? I'm like, okay. Well, we're going to have to learn how to do some deep research, which AI can help us with. We're going to have to learn how to look for trigger events. We're going to have to learn how to relate to others that may or may not be the same age as us. You may be 30, I'm 60, you've got to still talk to me, right? And so I think we are going to have to teach this basic conversation skill and business acumen to younger people, and then maybe refresh some others on it in the middle and be like, this is what it is. Now, sometimes it just proves itself. It's like I just had a client that we got them going out to trade shows, and they're just astonished at how people love to meet them. I'm like, yes, that's why we go to trade shows. We want to meet other people. We want to find new products we can buy that make our businesses better. That's why we go. We want to learn together. So when they go out and do these things, they see, oh my gosh, this works, right? Way better than a cold outreach. I get to meet this person and we had a conversation. But they have to be prepared for that once again, because they don't know how to have the conversation. They'll stand there and try to sell their product versus have a conversation that leads that person to want to ever talk to them again so that they can have a sales conversation. It's like, don't have a sales conversation at the trade show, have it after, but make sure you've left that person like, oh, I'd love to talk to you again. Let's get scheduled, like make sure you've had an engaging conversation. It's going to be big. I mean, there's a lot to do here, but relationships do matter. And those salespeople who are at the top at every company have great relationships that they can leverage whenever they need them.
And do you find that with the folks that are coming up the ranks need more coaching than they did in the past? Or has the shape of kind of sales training shifted over time in terms of the style of it?
It's a tough one for me to answer because I've seen it in my 30 years.
That's why I'm asking, yeah.
We always need more training and more coaching. And I could even forego the training if we had good coaching going on, right? Because you can teach a lot of things one-on-one, right? I'd say the biggest thing over the course of time that I've seen is the need for more coaching. I think training is great, but training without coaching is nothing. Because again, we can't change behavior when we don't coach. We train you on something, now we need to coach against that, right?
Yeah. And is it also enabling sales managers to be better coaches as well?
100%. 100%. And it's like the most neglected point in all of this whole sales program, right?
Yeah.
How do our leaders lead?
Mm-hmm.
It's so neglected. So, and we all know how you become a sales leader. Just be the best salesperson and somebody's going to try to promote you and hopefully you'll say no because you'll make a lot more money as an individual contributor than you will as a sales manager, and you're just going to take on a lot of problems. Good salespeople get promoted into sales leadership, and good salespeople are not very good at directing others' activities. They kind of just want everybody to do it the way they do it. And they may or may not know how to coach, mostly do not know how to coach. Some of them know how to manage only because they have seen other people do it. They may or may not have received coaching. And so good coaching. So how would they possibly know how to do it unless they studied it on their own, right? So yes, I think sales leadership is a big gap right now, a huge gap. And it's true that a lot of individual contributors know better than to go into leadership. And so it's kind of interesting, but sales leadership, we need to do a whole overhaul on our thinking around that.
Speaking of sales leadership, if there was somebody that was listening to this and they were trying to figure out like a daily habit that they could do to improve their ability to connect and be a better coach and a better sales leader, what would be some things you'd recommend?
Yeah, the first would be just get to know each person individually and understand what motivates them, because it's not the same for everybody. So I would just take a little time to do that. If you don't know the people who work for you well and you don't know what motivates them, start there. That would be the easiest thing. Understanding what's driving them. Are they making money to save for their kids' education? Are they making money to buy a new house? Are they making money to have a wedding? Are they making money because they want to, retire early? Like what is their motivation, right? Why do they need money? And everybody needs money to live, but there's more, right? And once you understand that, then you can help keep them motivated towards their own goals, right? Because it's not your goal that they care about, it's their own goal, right? And I would say that the other thing a sales leader could do to become a better sales leader almost immediately would be to listen to calls. And no one ever has enough time to do this. And then, yes, you can use AI and it can consolidate things and blah, 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 blah. But there's nothing like being in a sales call and watching and listening. And if it's recorded, that's great. If it's live and you're there, that's great too. But if you listen to one sales call for each of your sellers per week, if you got 10, that's 10 hours of work, right? I get it. I get why people don't do it. And now you could probably use the AI to help you if you were smart about it. But there's nothing like listening to the tone of voice, listening to how long they wait before they jump in again, listening to the buyer's responses, their tone of voice, and if there's video or you're in person, watching their faces. I mean, yes, maybe at some point the AI will do a better sentiment analysis. Maybe it'll be able to catch the expression on the face and all the other things. It can do it a little bit, but for most of us, we don't have the tools to. So a real human needs to listen to real sales calls. And then you'll see what they're doing and what they're not doing. And it's easy then to make a correction. Oh, hey, on this call, I saw you did this and you did it really well. I also saw you did this at this point. Let's talk about what you could have done instead to make that call go a little bit better, right? Like nothing beats that. That's real coaching. You're in it with them and you're talking about it and you can help them develop. And on that same note, I require salespeople to listen to their own calls because when you hear yourself doing certain things, you're like, oh, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I didn't wait, whatever. You will correct yourself. Some stuff you won't catch, and that's why your leader needs to listen to correct it.
In terms of sales leaders, what's a mistake that you're seeing happen today that's weakening kind of their ability to lead and coach their teams?
I'd say that still all of the reporting is taking them so many hours, and then the meetings that they're in and the firefighting they're doing. The mistake is not spending the bulk of your time coaching your salespeople to develop. So what does that look like? That's coaching their funnel, right? Making sure things are moving at the right velocity and their close ratios are good and you're understanding why things are moving or why they're not moving. Coaching their deals. What's going on with this deal? Who do you know? Who don't you know that you need to know? How like all that stuff, right? And then helping them develop. Here's what you're good at. Here's what you need to learn more of. So if you're spending 50% or more of your time doing that, you're great. But probably you're spending 50% or more of your time fighting fires, doing reporting and in internal meetings. So that's the mistake. It's like, if you want to be a great sales leader, you figure out how to get yourself out of all of that stuff and you get yourself working with your salespeople on a daily basis, coaching them and developing them.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Yeah. So as you think about kind of your career, is there one particular relationship that changed the trajectory of your career? Or turned into like a strategic advantage for you?
Well, I was a teacher for 13 years before I went into business with my dad. So I could say that was a trajectory changer for sure. Going to work for my dad at Miller Heiman and then watching them and helping them exit the company, helping them prepare the company to exit and then exiting and them retiring and me, going to start my own company. That was surely something that changed my trajectory. But in moving along the way, I'd say really the CEOs that I've worked with have probably changed it the most because I learn from each and every one of them. And in that learning, I can help them better, but also help the next CEO even better. So I would say that has the biggest impact on what I do and how I do it.
Yeah, always learning from your clients. That's great. Yeah. Awesome. Well, this is fantastic. I appreciate it. If people want to work with you, who would be the best people to reach out to you and what's the best way for them to learn more?
Well, if you're a CEO of a technology or innovative company that's under $50 million and you want to get to your next level and you may be struggling with sales or sales leadership or just really wanting some good, solid advice on what to do next, then you should definitely call me and we'll chat about it, right? But I am specifically, Jason, looking for female founder CEOs who want to improve the way that they drive revenue and stay sane doing it, because I love all CEOs, but female CEOs have a whole different set and a whole different layer of things on top of just driving revenue. And I really want to support them in a way that they maybe haven't been supported before and really help them drive revenue and stay sane.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. I saw you're connected to Amanda from One Mind, and I'm going to be talking to her in a couple weeks. So,
Oh, very good. She's amazing.
yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah. So awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, Alice. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
That was a great discussion with Alice Heiman. Today's episode reminded us that AI can make sales teams faster, but it cannot replace the leadership, trust, and relationship capital required to win complex B2B sales deals and lead sales teams. To help us grow this community, please take 30 seconds to follow, subscribe, and especially give a review on Apple Podcasts. It's the best way to support the show. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Relationship Capitalists. If today's conversation sparked something for you, the best way to invest in your own relationship capital is simple. Share this episode with one person in your network who needs to hear it. To learn more about how to build and scale your relationship capital through proven frameworks and simple daily actions, visit relationshipcapital.com. And if you haven't already, search for Relationship Capitalists on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Relationship Capitalists is produced by Fane, the B2B podcast agency that grows your business. I'm Jason Masciarelli. Thanks for being here.